Hello, welcome to Skye Sweaty Record Review, episode 81. It's the only first listen, first take new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after leaving the gym. Now, today I'm going to be reviewing an album called Strange Creatures by Drenge. Drenge? I don't know. D-R-E-N-G-E. But before that, I think it's time we had a little Professor Payne's pretentious preface. You see, so a lot of my friends are like guys my age, and a lot of times I hear them complaining about modern music, is it just me, or is Imagine Dragons the end of music? I've had multiple friends say that, things like that. And then last week someone posted this triumphant article. It said, rock is not dead. It's the top selling music. And the examples that they gave were really depressing. Like, one of the examples was that Greta Van Fleet can sell out theaters instantly. It's like, yeah, but Greta Van Fleet is so sad. I mean, they're fine, I suppose. I don't particularly like them or hate them. But, they're just making music that's trying to sound like old music. They're like Stranger Things music, And another example was, and rock and roll vinyl is the top seller. It was the Beatles. The Beatles were the top selling albums of last year. The Beatles are wicked dead. So this whole argument, is rock dead? So every once in a while I talk about this. My initial take is that, rock and roll is youth music. So if you think that rock and roll is dead, it's actually rock isn't dead, you're dead. That's what I used to say. But that's pithy and it's cool, but I don't think it's fully accurate. You see, what do people mean when they say rock is dead? Well, yes, there is an age component to it, which the music that was made by white males when you were between the age of 15 and 30, okay, that's what you consider to be rock. And music made by white males before then, with a few exceptions, is also what you consider classic rock. So, is what you consider rock and roll. So that's always going to die. That's in a perpetual state of dying as you get older, as I get older. But really what people mean is classic rock is dead. Beatles, Rolling Stones, Zeppelin, The Who. But the weird thing is that classic rock itself is a totally morphing term. It's a snowball that keeps growing as time passes. Let's not forget, classic rock was itself a death. Rock and roll started, and once classic rock happened, that rock and roll, Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, got moved into a category called the oldies. Like when I was growing up in Boston, 103.3, WOLDS. And it was funny because that was basically anything before Kennedy got shot was dead. And the new music was classic rock. So the Beatles were on oldies, but they were also on the classic rock station. W100.7 WZLX was the station in Boston. But as time goes on, something happened. Really, rock and roll, classic rock died around 76. Punk came in and made harder, better music that was faster in responding to the new youth. And then disco came in and sucked up the rest. And rock and roll died. It died. When the Rolling Stones released a disco song, forget it. It was over. But somehow, if you listen to classic rock stations, and they still exist, there's all this rock and roll after 1976. They'll play The Cure. They'll play Nirvana. And now when I was growing up in Boston, 101.7 WFNX, that was the alternative, edgy, cutting-edge station. That's what you started to listen to when you were done with the Beatles, man, and Rolling Stones, old hippie stuff. I'm into this tough, cutting-edge Pearl Jam and Soundgarden. Now, that's on classic rock. I swear to God. I want to go back in time and tell myself, Skye, when you're 40, you're going to be listening to a classic rock station, and they're going to play Nirvana, and they're going to follow it up with John Cougar Mellencamp, and you're not going to bat an eye. You're just going to be driving, and you're going to switch the song because you hate Johnny Cougar Mellencamp. But you won't even register that this happened. One day, 21 Pilots and Imagine Dragons will be on classic rock. So rock isn't dead. It just keeps being recreated. And then for you personally, it dies because you're no longer 15 to 25. Actually, I'd say rock dies when you're around 25 years old. So with that preface out of the way, let's talk about a rock band. Let's talk about a rock band that fulfills a lot of the categories of classic rock. It's made by young white men from England, and it's called Drenge, and it's a really good album. It's excellent. My main beef with this band is that it's a brother band, okay? There's a lot of great bands with brothers in them. AC/DC, I guess basically just AC/DC. There's some other bands, the Black Crowes, I guess. There's another classic rock band. I won't mention the British band because I don't want to get them mixed in here. But anyway, so there's a lot of great bands with brothers in them, but their last name is Loveless. They could have been the Loveless Brothers. What a great name for a band. Instead, they end up with Drenge? I'm sorry, guys. You missed a huge marketing choice. Although my kids might end up being in a band, and they could be the Pain Kids, and that's a good name, and they probably won't do that either. So what is Drenge? What is this album, Strange Creatures? Well, I'll give a sort of overall take on it. First of all, it's very good. It's very listenable. It's not... a lot of rock and roll I've been listening to lately, like, Juju is like intentionally really grating. And it's not particularly folky. What I like about it is it's mostly guitar-based, but there's some keyboard. There's a little bit of automated stuff that happens, but not entirely. It's kind of angry music, but it's not really clear what it's angry about. I think probably the best way to describe it is it's like blunt rock and roll. It's a lot of like very simple, just okay, like that kind of like just pulsing, hard-hitting rock and roll. But the thing is, it's really layered. It's really well textured. So right as you think a song is not so great, like a really nice lead line will come in, a nice lead guitar line will just pop up out of nowhere, and you'll be really happy to hear it. Most of the vocals are spoken, but they're spoken with a British accent, so that's kind of nice. When the guy sings, it kind of reminds me of that guy from Blur, except I hate the guy from Blur. I intellectually understand that he's a good musician, but like anything he does, like with the Gorillaz or with Blur or that band he had with the guy from The Clash, like I hate that guy's voice, but I don't hate this guy's voice. I don't hate the singer in Drenge, but it's in that kind of realm where it's like, this is not Freddie Mercury. This isn't Harry Nilsson. He doesn't have some amazingly rangy voice, but the music is like hard enough and rocking enough that it doesn't really matter. There's a few good tracks. There's a good track called Autonomy that has the most electronic sequencing on it. Has kind of like a keyboard there. I think it's a song about robots, which is pretty cool. The title track, Strange Creatures, is really nice. It has a cool sort of droning keyboard. But again, these layers that come in, just these multiple guitar lines come in particular at the end, like there's just like 4 or 5 guitar lines, and they're kind of fuzzy and grimy, and they're really quite good. 2 songs get the stamp, which is to say I'm going to put them in a playlist, and I'm going to consider them for my end-of-year best songs. First, it would be the song Prom Night. This is a very exemplary song of theirs. You have someone sort of talking about something. They tell a lot of stories, but it's not clear what they're talking about. It's like a Nick Cave song, but like incomplete. Like it's not really sure what they're talking about. It's vaguely political. So here's the beginning of it.
A long time ago at a school I used to go to, prom night in the heat of July. The king and queen snug by the toilets. The school band plays the long slow goodbye. The limousines cook on the tarmac, and the teachers overseeing the event just want to go back home.
So you're thinking, okay, good. Guitar, talking, and then... And it keeps going like this. And again, part of what makes this band so nice is it's, okay, alright, that's fine. But then like halfway through, these like dueling saxophones come in. And saxophones are a big no-no in rock and roll. They're almost always bad, but not always. Listen how nice the saxophone works in this part. Well, actually, you can't hear it so well, though. Uh-oh. My computer's breaking. Okay, here we go. I'll get to the saxophone solos here. Just take my word for it. It's really nice. Listen to Prom Night. It's a vaguely political, interesting, strong song. Another interesting one is the last track. And this is something that often happens with good rock and roll bands, where they'll have a track where it feels like they're trying something out. They're trying something new. So the song is called When I Look Into Your Eyes. And instead of it being bass, which they often lead with bass, or guitar, it's this weird vocal sample. Like, oh, over and over and over again. Here, have a listen. So it goes on like this for the entire song. Actually, not the entire song. You kind of get the sense of that layering. So it moves in with that vocals, and then the guitar comes in, kind of a stilted acoustic guitar, and then the singing comes in. But then later in the song, like the ahs drop out. And then they come back in and they leave, and there's like interesting percussion, and there's interesting lead lines, and it's really quite great. So there you go. Rock and roll is not dead, because if you listen to rock and roll, you'll discover lots of it's out there. Some of it is like 21 Pilots, and it's poppy, and it's rap, and it's reggae, and you're like, I don't like that. And some of it's very comforting. You know, Julia Jacqueline from last week. Very comforting, nice, just straight up songwriting. You just have to go out and listen to it. And I'm going to help you. Come listen to rock and roll and rap with me, and sometimes classical music. Although apparently my idea of comparing Lil Pump to Bach was not as funny as I thought it was. Damn it. I never know what's going to work on this channel. Okay, until next time, where I'll be reviewing something that comes out tomorrow, there's the camera.